Oh, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight. Oh man, I am super excited to have my guest on with me tonight, folks. I'm talking about a yonder getter, somebody who's been in the motorcycle culture, long distance riding culture for a minute. I'm talking about, man, his resume is thick. I'm talking about it's long. I'm talking about a gentleman who has ridden over 783,000 miles plus, headed towards the 1 million mile mark, over 228,000 miles certified IBA rides. I'm talking over 104 individual rides, with 80 of them being extended gold insanity level. I'm talking about somebody, man, who has been riding. I'm talking about not only in America, not only in Canada, but he's ridden in Japan. He's ridden pretty much all around the world. A mile eater, diamond rider. Uh, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. This gentleman's resume is longer than both of my arms stretched out from end to end. Folks, listen, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring him in, man. How you doing tonight, sir?
Hey man, how you doing? That's a heck of a introduction there. Wow, I don't think I can live up to that. Wow.
Hey man, hey, you've been putting it down. You have been putting it down, sir.
You've been doing a
Hey,
little riding, man. I didn't realize it was that much.
Oh man, and look, I only touched the tip of the spear on it, man. It just kept going on and on and on. I say I can't put all this stuff in here. Hey, welcome. Come on in, folks. Come on in. We greatly appreciate you joining us tonight. Breezy, how you doing? This should be a good one. You're right, sir. This is going to be a great interview with Greg. You know, his resume is a mile long. He's very technical with his writing. He's very technical with it. So he has a lot to offer you in the long distance riding community. If you're thinking about rally riding, he has a lot to offer. He's created a mapping platform. Greg, I'm gonna let you get into it, but it's so in depth that it can literally pinpoint you and your time of where you need to be to hit your mark. Am I right, Greg?
You're right. Yeah. I've
Okay.
been on it for a lot of years, right? So I've done a lot of rally riding, been reasonably successful, and plan. I'm pretty specific and particular about my planning, and even just my regular riding. I go out
Yes.
to do a long distance ride. I've already planned it out, thought it out, and just waiting for hopefully nothing to happen. But I've tried to thought through everything, planned out everything, and so when I leave home, it's just go ride.
Right. Now, if you would, Greg, please go ahead and introduce my audience to you, because now you have been featured on a couple of different long distance riding podcasts, a couple of magazines. But for my audience tonight, I want you to just go ahead and introduce yourself and give them a little background about who is Greg Rice.
Well, first thing is I'm old. I'm 68 years old, but I still ride like I'm 48, I think. I started riding in the early 70s when I was in the military because I could not afford a car. And I started doing long distancing because I couldn't afford hotels. So I used to ride from Great Lakes Naval Base back down to Miami nonstop on a Kawasaki KZ650 three, four, 5 times, and just pull off on the side of the road and do a IBA type hotel back then, which I didn't know what it was back then. And I just continued to ride. I took a break when I was had 2 young boys and had a boat for a while so that we all could enjoy. But once they got tired of that, I was back to riding. I lived in Japan, as you mentioned. I did a lot of riding over there, and I thought I knew how to ride when I went to Japan in the 80s. I used to work for the U.S. government, and I was there.
Right.
But man, that's where I really learned to ride. I hooked up with Honda over there, and they taught me to road race, but they teach you in the dirt first. So you learn to slide your tires and you don't lose your pants, and don't get too crazy out there. And so when your tires are sliding and stuff, you're not freaking out, right? And so I really thought I knew how to ride until I got there, and then it was like, oh, wait a minute. And the roads over there are small and very difficult and narrow. You have mirrors to see around the curves, and stuff like that. So I did a lot of riding with dirt bikes over there. Have wide handlebars, a lot of leverage. So I could drag, and I used to tell people I don't drag my knees, I drag my elbows.
Okay.
Kind of
Nice.
joke back then. And I just kept riding, and I've been got into long distance riding again. in the early 2000s, and I did my first IBA ride in 2002. And right now I have 24 years straight of doing at least one IBA ride. And next year, hopefully I'll make the 25th year of doing at least one IBA ride.
Yeah, yeah,
Get at
definitely,
it.
definitely, definitely. Now, your father, just doing my homework, your father was a Shriner, and he rode in the motorcycle unit.
Yes,
And
he did.
I
Electric
think,
rides. Yep.
yeah, electric glass. So I think that kind of inspired you and laid the
Yep.
foundation of your
Yep.
riding.
Yep.
So,
It
so
did,
your
even though he didn't let me ride a lot with him. It was always seeing him out there on the bikes and,
Mhm.
practicing, doing the figure eights and all the different things for the parades. And they traveled to all the Southeast from Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and all
Right.
kind of things, right? And all the parades and stuff like that. Yeah. So I know for sure that's how I got my interest on it. And then, like I said, when I got in the military, when I first went in, I was making $326 a month.
A Navy man at that.
Yeah, amazing. And fortunately, I was new power and a push button, and I got E5 out of boot camp and worked my way around a little bit. Then, right?
Okay.
But
Okay.
so yeah, that really did have an interest in me, and him riding the Harleys and getting around and stuff like that. Yep.
Right. Right.
Even though I've
So
never owned one, and I don't know
yeah,
that I would, to be honest with you. So
I know,
don't
man.
take
Listen,
offense, but
I
we used to
want you.
follow them in the truck. That's back when they had all the chrome and the knobs and all that stuff. We used to
Uh-huh.
have to follow them in the truck to pick up the parts as they fell off.
Oh
Especially
my
when
goodness.
especially when it was AMF on the bikes, right? And
Oh yeah,
that,
when it was sitting on the showroom floor with an oil leak.
yeah, it's funny back then. Yeah,
Oh man, yes indeed, yes
yeah,
indeed. So you are currently a BMW man, and you've ridden the gauntlet of bikes.
yep,
You currently
yeah,
ride a 1250. Okay.
yeah. I'm riding a 1250 now, and I'm really riding it because I've been doing a little bit different kind of riding. The one thing, the GSA will do every kind of riding. That's the benefit of
Hmm.
it, right? So,
Hmm.
like when I just went down to Panama, I had a 40-mile stretch of road that was dirt,
Hmm.
going and coming back, right? So, and then also in southern Mexico, there was about an 8-10 mile stretch of dirt gravel in 3 o'clock in the morning. So, trying to do that on a street bike at the speeds we were trying to do just don't work. The GSA and the adventure bikes have a much higher ground clearance and a
Right.
much longer travel of suspension, right? And when you hit a speed bump at 60 mile an hour at 3 in the morning, it's good to have that extra suspension and ground clearance. I went in
Right.
2018 on a Gold Wing down
Hmm.
into southern Mexico, and it wasn't good. And then in 2023, I took an RT, BMW RT, down to
Okay.
Costa Rica,
Okay.
and I bent the rim and stuff on the front because one of the really soft rims on BMWs, but we just hit so many bad roads and stuff like that, and we were at speed and we rode day and night, right? So
Wow, wow. And you rode this trip. Now, this is your second time doing this trip.
yep,
We might want to just go ahead and kind of, front load people on this. This is Greg's second time riding this ride. And this time you did it with Mike, Bobbitt, and
Bill Curtis.
Bill. Yeah, Bill Carter. Yeah,
Yep,
exactly. And that's pretty awesome. That's the three gentlemen right here. And you can
yep.
kind of see, I think everybody's on a 1250.
Everybody happened to be on a 1250. Yeah, yeah,
Right,
yeah. And
right.
they we didn't have one thing except Bill's has custom pannier side cases or saddlebags, whatever you want to call them.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the way they mount is a little bit different. And I guess the vibration, and we were running hard. One of them fell off about 60 miles before the end of the road, and it bounced up and
Okay.
down on the highway and stuff like that, right? So, but other than that, they didn't miss a beat, and that's one of the benefits of those bikes, right? We rode them real hard, day and night,
Yeah, yeah,
and hit everything in the road you could think of, and they didn't miss a beat.
right. I tell you, folks, I have ridden. I have the honor and privilege ridden with Greg, and we were at Lionel Ramos and Andy Anderson when they hit the black level of the IBA rides, and they are the first two to hit that level, and which is 200 plus certified rides. And so coming back home, Greg said, "Hey, well, look, I'm gonna ride with you guys a little bit." And he hopped on his bike, man. And listen, I literally slowed those guys down, man. There's no comparison. I'm telling you right now, if you think that you're going to pull up beside one of those 1250 bikes, man, you might as well hang it up. These guys are cruising. I'm literally talking cruising probably 90 to 100 miles an hour. That's cruise speeds for them. And traffic don't stand a chance. They have all the latest technology, the lighting, everything on their bikes. True professional, man. I mean, that's something that and I think Highway Smiley has one too. And I am thinking about maybe consider getting me one. It's just going over into that genre of riding, because like you say, Greg, it can go anywhere because of the center of gravity of it.
And it does. It really does. Yeah. And I rode probably 400,000+ miles just on Gold Wing. And I took them pretty much over top of Alaska. I went to Mexico, southern Mexico on one, but it wasn't, some of those conditions weren't good for it, right? And it just didn't ride as good as it should, it could, and it wasn't as safe. And it isn't meant for a really off-road. Like the GSA, if you happen, I don't really like a lot of off-road, but if you come up on it, you can just keep right on going. You don't have to worry about
it. Right. And folks, if you do not know the layout and dynamics of this ride that Greg just completed, I'm going to pull the map up for you. And if you would, Greg, and I know this is not your start point. Is this your start point, Laredo? Is this just basically where
Laredo, that's where we start. I started in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I have to ride 1,500 miles just to get to the start. So
right,
15. And then, by the way, 1,500 back to get back home after that.
So after you take that whipping going all the way down and coming all the way back up, man, that's pretty incredible. And if you would, and what I want to do, Greg, is kind of establish. Now, like I said, you've done it before. How did you come up with wanting to do this ride? What just said, I want to ride all the way down to Panama City?
Well, I've had it in my mind for a long time. I mean, 10, 15 years. The first time I really started to think and plan about it was back in 2018.
Okay.
And I was riding Gold Wings at the time. And and I couldn't find anybody willing to go with me. Finally, I found a person named Daniel, a friend of mine here in Fort Lauderdale area. But he wouldn't go all the way. So we rode down into southern Mexico and then went back to Mexico City, spent 2 nights, and then came back home. And then after that, I really got into the planning. And I researched every country, every border, the crossings, the documents required, everything that would be, and then all the different kind of roads. And I was looking really for the best roads you could find so I could make time, right? Because I'm one of those kind of people, the destination is fine, but it's really the ride for me.
Right.
And when I hit the destination, I might hang a half hour or two, but then I'm gone. And I just want to ride, right? So I planned it out, a ride that I thought I could make the best time, and that would have the most, if not all, paved roads. And and in general, it's just sometimes they do construction, like in the U.S., especially in the northern part of the country, where they rip up the whole road down to the dirt bed, and you might ride 20, 30 miles in the U.S., or if you've been to Alaska, the Alaskan highway, there's 10, 15, 20-mile stretches of it that are dirt gravel, right? And that can happen down there in Mexico too, and that's what happened on this ride. We found a 40-mile stretch, and then another about an 8, 10-mile stretch of it that was dirt and gravel. But otherwise, so I'd really been planning a long time and researching and keeping all the information and documenting it. And I got a really big web page with all that information on it, how to do that ride. So.
Yeah, and you also have a YouTube channel that I want to try to get people to go over and start viewing, because Greg has a lot of information that he shares with other riders that's wanting to get into the long distance riding community, want to get out and ride. This is his page right here, Greg Rice, No Limits Extreme Riding. Is this current, Greg?
Yep, it's current. Yeah. I just put a few new videos up there last week, 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe 6, I don't know, from this last ride, as I've been I've got a GoPro, and I also have the Insta360 X3. So I've been trying to, I'm not really good at it. I just mount it, and it's really raw video mostly, and maybe I overlay a little audio music with some of them, right? But it's a lot of raw video of the rides down to Central America and back, including the border crossings, and then just a lot of other stuff. I try to, how I lay out my bikes and those kind of things, videos those kind too. Right?
Exactly, because I remember when I first considered doing the IBR, I reached out to you and I said, Greg, I said, look, man, I said, I'm new at this and I'm jumping right into the Super Bowl of LDR. But I'm telling you, your program, I looked at your program, it was so thorough, so in-depth that I needed to say, you know what, this is going into grad school. I need to come back down, man, and maybe start in as a freshman, you know what I'm saying, or a junior level, because man, it was just so advanced. But the point was, though, looking at it and now having written the IBR and being able to understand it, I'm like, man, now if I had to use that, I probably would have done a little bit better. But I'm happy with my finish. And you're getting ready. Aren't you gearing up for another IBR?
No, I'm not in this one. I was, but we're building a house. So I'm actually getting the keys on June 16th, the start of the rally, so in a couple of weeks. So
yeah.
So I had to drop out after being in, right? But yeah, so hopefully another one. I've ridden in 5, been top 10, and other top 10 users, including James Owen has used my spreadsheet in his rallies. So and then James and I used it when we won the Senior Butt Rally, which was a 6-day rally back in 2021. So and I've got 20 plus people using it in this rally coming up.
Nice.
I've been helping, doing some videos and Zoom meetings and stuff with them to try to help, get them. It's a little bit big if you're not comfortable with computers and spreadsheets and stuff. So, as you said, sometimes it's better just to get in the game, get your feet wet and feel how it is. And then, then you better understand what the spreadsheet's doing for you, why it does it, right?
Exactly.
And a lot of it, the conventions of it, I got from Jim Owen way back in 2007, and how I'm naming conventions and different things. When we used to do rallies, and it was paper books and Polaroid cameras, and those kind of things. So, but we still had naming convention, different ways we did it. So when it showed up in our GPS, when we saw it, we knew exactly what it meant: the code, the points, the availability, all
bonuses,
those things,
all of that, how to input bonus, rest.
Sunrise. I load sunrise and sunset for people, for the rallies that have daylight only bonuses, so how to plan around those kind of things and stuff too. So,
now I have to ask. We're gonna go ahead and jump because I only got so much time, and
I got all night.
Truly, I know, right? I could have literally made this into like a 3-part episode of just the prep, the logistic, the whole 9 yards. But I'm gonna touch base on it, kind of feed people to understand that this ride is doable. It is doable, and that there is somebody out there like yourself and Bill and the other gentleman, Mike, that will help them achieve riding to Panama City.
Oh yeah, there's the information I have up there. You don't have to do it at the pace I was. There's a couple reasons I do it at the pace. I only had 2 weeks vacation time to do it, right? I get a lot more vacation, but I spend a lot of that with my family and stuff. And then, I like to ride, and I like the challenge of being able to do it when people say you can't. When I first did it, there's a couple Facebook groups out there, Panama Highway Riders and others, and they said, ain't no way you can go down there and back in 10 days. It ain't happening, right? And of course, don't tell me that. So, but the information on that webpage, you could do it in 10 days, 20 days, 50 days. And most people take a month to go down and back, right? I just wanted to push the limits. That's just what I do. I try to push the limits and see what I can do.
Okay. Now, like I say, this is your second time. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into my questions right here. Challenges. We're gonna go ahead and talk about the challenges of doing this ride. What did you find to be the most challenging portion of this ride?
To be honest with you, patience.
Okay.
Patience, because the border crossings, they work at time that ain't nothing like ours.
Right.
And they don't have anything available, and they use that, like that document you're showing right there, that's carbon copy.
Yeah.
They don't got computers and printers. They had carbon copy stuff, and sometimes they don't, and we got to fill out the same form 3 or 4 times. Yeah. Each form, and so to for 3 of us to do a border, or if it's 2, it's an hour to 2 hours minimum at each border to cross the border and get your paperwork done. So and they move at a pace that's not we're used to. I'm kind of a little used to it. My wife is from Cuba, born in Cuba, and been married to her 34 years. So I got an idea, and I know her family and how they work. But in Central America and all, they move at a much different pace. They're not in a hurry, and we're everything fast. I want it now, fast this, fast that, and right now. And so the patience of doing that was really the hardest, right? And then just having all the documents that they want.
Oh man.
And copies. Everybody wants a copy, right?
Okay.
They want to see the original, and they want a copy to keep for themselves to put in wherever they store them, right, in their files and what have you, right? So having all the copies of everything you need. And after 2 trips, I know now, from driver's license, passport, registration, title,
insurance. Now, insurance. I have to ask this question
all the different things
because we when we do the SMA rides, we have to get insurance. They recommend that we get insurance, and we only go probably 5 miles, if that, 5 miles into Baja Spur. Now, I can only imagine what the insurance, because there are different policies. They will ask you, are you going Baja Spur or are you going mainland?
Yeah, well, and that's just for Mexico. But then when you get down farther, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and Panama, they all have their own specifics that you can't get your vehicle import permit, what everybody calls a TIP, TIP, until you get the insurance. And it's not expensive. It's $20 or something like that for a 30-day policy, right? But
you have to have it, though.
A lot of different little things that you have to do, and some of it you just can't do until you show up at the border.
Okay.
Right. Some, like the insurance, the Mexico insurance, you can buy ahead. On my webpage, I've got everything you need to do for Mexico. You can do online ahead, except for you still got to go to the Banjocito office when you cross the border and get your passport stamped. And they take that, what's called an FFM, which is a tourist visa, and they stamp that also. And then they stick that in your passport and you're good to go. But your vehicle import permit, your vehicle insurance, and all that, you can actually do online for Mexico. All the other countries, you don't. Now, Nicaragua, you have to send a letter to them about a week prior asking for permission to enter the country. And I've got information about that and how to do it, a link to the form and all that on the webpage. And because they have to approve you, because Nicaragua is the most difficult to get in and out of.
Okay, Nicaragua. Listen, folks, listen. If you are thinking and considering making this trip, you need to be paying attention. If you know somebody that's interested or thinking about doing it, you need to reach out to them and say, hey, you need to tune in to K-Solo podcast tonight, because you got Mr. Greg Rice on, and he's laying it down what you're going to need to be successful. And also make sure you go hit him up. He's on Facebook. He has a YouTube channel. Are there any other ways that they can get in touch with you?
Those are the main two, but I have a big web page that has my email address on it and all that stuff there too. So feel free to reach out. I like to hear from people, and I like to try to help people, right? I can't always. Sometimes, my ideas and thoughts aren't exactly what they're looking for, but I'll give you, what I know, and I'll share whatever I have. Just as a side note, in past Ironbutt rallies, I've shared my routes with people that I did, but I told them, you can have it, but you still got to ride it.
Yes, that's the number one thing.
It's still the whole thing of getting in the saddle and twisting that bad boy all day and all night, right? So, yeah.
Right. And the IBR is no joke, folks. That is the Super Bowl of the IBA. I know we got a lot of people are doing Saddle Soar 1000. Some people are doing their first bun burner, silver and gold. We commend you and congratulate you, but there's more to the IBA. Kodak just attended his first Jack's party down there in Jacksonville, Florida. I encourage everybody, if you want to get into long distance riding, if you want to hear the stories, the tales on how to be successful, the tips of the trade, you need to come to the IBA Jack's party that they have in Jacksonville. Okay. And
there's a lot of good information and people there, and I would say 95% of the people are friendly and will talk to you, and try to answer any questions that you have there in Jack's. And I've been going since 2003, so it's been a good experience for me.
Right. Now, you really didn't join the IBA until what, 2002? 02, yeah, 02. Hey, you had a funny story that when I was doing my homework that I heard when you were making those trips from the Navy base going to Miami on your bike. I know you had to change your windshield out. Yeah. That was funny. But you said, I ride with a tank bag, and in my tank bag,
I had a tank bag. I had an 8-track player in my tank bag and a speaker bungee corded to the top of the tank bag, and it was bad. I had like 4 8-track tapes, and I would just plug them bad boys in and ride. And music helps you get down the road.
CB radio and a CB radio.
And I had a CB with a big whip antenna, and I've made my own boom antenna. I bought a trucker boom microphone headset, and I broke it all up and fitted up into my helmet, and I had made my own boom mic. And I knew a little bit about electronics because I was in the Navy and a nuclear power plant operator.
Right.
I had swapped out the transistors in CB, so I had a little bit more get out, right? And
okay,
could make my presence known on the highway too, right? Yeah, and I rode all the way out to Grand Canyon. I slept on the edge of the Grand Canyon in an orange pup tent, and it was degrees. It was freezing there.
So motor camping, you've done it all, man. You've done it all back before. Yeah, good deal. Hey, folks, we have some technical difficulties, but there he is. He's there. He's got us going. Yeah, but I want to get into not just the logistics of it, but when you took this ride, you didn't take any extra tires. Now, before you did take extra tires, the first time you did it, you took an extra set of tires.
We had them available to us, yeah.
Because you change your own tires, correct?
I do my own, yeah.
Right.
Because I don't know sometimes, when I can get away on a long ride, and and I like to wait till use up what I got on the tires, and so it's just easier to a few days before being able to change your own. And then when you're changing them 5 times a year at $300 to $500 a pop at a BMW shop, it gets to be pretty expensive. So it's so I order my own tires and do my own. And the last one I did with tire spoons and a 12-volt air compressor, and worked just fine.
Okay, folks, it's still some people.
And I carry all that kind of equipment with me on the ride to Panama. I got 3 tire spoons, I got 2 air compressors, and I've got every kind of tire plug patch you can think of, just to be prepared. I had a big flat on the first ride in Guatemala, and it took 3 patching with worms 3 times to make it 35 miles to a town to find a tire repair shop finally who was able to fix it permanently. And then I rode another 6,000 miles because they took the tire off and put a patch on the inside.
Okay.
And then I was able to finish the ride all the way down to Panama and then all the way back home. Change tire.
Man, folks, so that's something.
You need to be reasonably sufficient. The other thing is the routes that I do, a lot of people, is it dangerous? Is it dangerous? Never had one person come up and do anything to us. But the routes are through cartel country, and we do ride through them in the night. And the only time we had any kind of little something was we were dead ass tired about 3 a.m, and we're headed back north to the border, and we needed to get some coffee, and we stopped, and we were inside this little small convenience store there, and one of the guys came up to Mike and said to him, "Ain't you guys afraid of the cartel?" And of course we are.
Man.
But and then we went outside, and then they all came outside and started looking at us, and we drank our coffee and got on the road.
Right.
But otherwise, it's safe, and we found no danger. And I don't speak Spanish either. And Mike speaks.
That was my next question. What was the language barrier like? Because
it wasn't.
Like I said,
there's a couple times
because the farther you go away from the border, the less and less English is being spoken.
Yeah, we were able to, we weren't hanging out in towns. When we did stop at hotels, we stayed at the hotel, we ate in the hotel, and we left the hotel and got back on the road, right? We didn't do any around, but we did need to buy gas, we did need to buy food, and we needed to pay tolls, and we needed to do border crossing, get the paperwork done. So it just, we were able to just, communicate what we want, and they were able to communicate back to us what we needed to do. And in some cases, it took a little longer because, we had to ask somebody to come over who might have a little bit of dual language and was bilingual, a little English, and think, what do they want, right? Because even though you might have went across that border 5 times, the next time they're going to ask something different sometimes and do it totally different. They just, they don't have a ironclad, here's the SOP, this is what we do, right? It depends on who's working the windows, right, at the time, right? So.
Oh man. What were the horror stories? Did y'all have any horror stories where
Oh,
it was like, let's hear about the horror stories, because I want to front load those, man.
We
know you
on
made
this
it
last
back, so
on this last ride, I plan out my rides to the minute, and so
yes.
On the first part of the ride, we wanted to do what's called a Mexico border to border. So
Okay.
it's 1,200 miles from Laredo to the Mexico-Guatemala border, and it doesn't open till 9 in the morning. So I had planned to leave at 10:30 out of Laredo in the morning, and then we were going to ride 24 hours and show up around 8:30, 9 o'clock, just as the border was opening, and get our paperwork done. But I let Mike and Bill talk to me, and they said, "Oh man, we're going to wake up at 6 and just be laying here, man. What are we going to do?" They said, "Can we just go ahead?" I said, "Sure, we'll go ahead and start." Well, guess what? We got there at the Mexico-Guatemala border, and there's this big iron gate closed right there. So we had to camp out in the middle of the road right there. So we all carry little air pads and like a little tarp or something. Throw over you. Mike Bobbitt's a little more equipped. He's got a sleeping bag and everything. So we were parked dead in the middle of the road, the main road there, and set up camp right in front of that iron gate. And during the night, howler monkeys started moving in on us. And then in the morning, wild pigs started moving in on us, man. So it was pretty interesting. And finally, the sun came up, and we got tired of, looking over our shoulder, and, because we each may have passed out for a half hour to an hour at the most. We were there 4 hours because we arrived at 4 in the morning because we were moving along, let's just say. And we made great time in that 1,200 miles. We took 20 hours with all the different stuff we had to do in Mexico, right? Including stopping for 2 meals, sit-down meals in restaurants and stuff.
Okay.
And so, yeah, that was one. Nicaragua is always a problem. And their paperwork is tricky and hard. They search you for drones. Don't take a drone down there. They will take your stuff apart and look for drones. And that's coming and going.
You can't take. So I know you can't take weapons down there.
No weapons.
No gun.
Don't get
no
caught
gun.
with a gun. I carry knives.
Gun.
I carry knives and I carry mace.
Okay.
And I have a big mace in my bag, top box, and I carry a little one of pocket ones inside my jacket vest pocket. Never had a reason or thought to want to pull them out. And that's even when we're sleeping on the ground on the side of the road, anywhere between Mexico and or somewhere in Central America or way to Panama. Right? When we got to stop, we stop and we just, do an IBA kind of hotel deal and lay out, right? And so, but Nicaragua, on the way back this time, we got there at 11:10. They didn't get us processed at 11:10 at night, and they closed the border at midnight. They finally they got us processed out about 1:30 in the morning. And as we're leaving the border area, they have a checkpoint and they check all your paperwork. And Bill's paperwork was good. My paperwork was good. When they went to look at Mike's, they looked at the paperwork and they looked at his license plate. And because we had been there before and he had the same bike, they just printed out the old form. Well, he had changed license plates by then. So they said he can't leave. They told Bill and me to leave. Well, I told Bill to leave because I already had booked a hotel in Managua, Nicaragua, and was already late, couldn't cancel, right? I had 2 rooms. So we sent him on his way. And we dealt with the person at the border there for about 2 hours, and they finally, they kept us, no, nothing we can do. And they told me I had to leave and Mike had to stay. And I said, well, I'm not leaving my friend here, in the middle of the night in Nicaragua in the parking lot, right? So he turned and I kind of made it look like I was going to leave, but I turned and went back, and then we went back into the parking lot, and there was this little police hut, little concrete building. And it was 2:30 in the morning, and we went in and camped out till 6 a.m. and inside the building had an aircraft seat out of an aircraft, with the seat, a two-seat aircraft seat they'd taken out of an airplane, and that was a chair that the police officer uses.
It was probably a down smuggler craft or something like that, where they just gutted it.
Who knows where the heck that came from, right? So we had to stay there until 6 in the morning in that little hut in the parking lot before they would let us leave, right? And then the first time, another one in Nicaragua, we got on our way back from Panama, we got to Costa Rica. We checked out of Costa Rica at probably 11 o'clock at night, and the border is open till midnight in Nicaragua. So you ride up to a little blue building, and that video is where they spray your vehicles in all the countries for bugs, right? It's fumigation. You got to do it, and you got to pay them to do it too. It's $1. But anyway, so
Oh,
we
so
were
you got to
riding back
pay them to
north.
do it, man.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So we were riding back north, and we got checked out of Costa Rica. And we got to the little blue building for Nicaragua, and they looked at our paper, said, okay. And then some guy rides up on a little dirt bike, I guess the supervisor, and said, hey, I'm going home early, in Spanish to the guy. We're closed. And we're like, well, wait a minute. We already checked out of Costa Rica. We can't go back. And they wouldn't let us go in. And there's like 100 feet between the two countries. It's like a no man's land, right? So we ended up having to camp out in no man's land from midnight till 6 a.m. And we actually fell asleep on the ground there. The Costa Rican National Police saw us kind of stuck there, and they said, hey, you can stay right in this little spot, which wasn't too far from their office, but in the no man's land. Right. So we went to sleep, and we both actually fell asleep, surprisingly. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, we started hearing noises, and it sounded, I swear, like monsters.
Howling monkeys.
And then bad boys were closing in on us. And we got up, and there was no weapons found, no sticks or anything to have. And they were in the trees above us, about 100 of them. And
wow,
it went on for about 15 minutes till the Costa Rican National Guard saw it, and they came out with these big flashlights, started shining up in the trees, and howler monkeys started to disperse. But I don't know if they was ever going to do anything. But man, that was a time to be camped out in no man's land there, and the howler monkeys attacking. It was funny now, but at the moment, man, we were thinking,
so they wouldn't even, they just stopped, they just closed the gate, stopped manning it, and just left you guys on your
real gate, big iron gates. They all have these.
Yeah, big iron gates.
It's not like here in the U.S. where you just drive across the border. So they've got big iron gates. It's like, and you think in your mind, how does the country shut down? Like at Guatemala, they close the border at 5 p.m. and sometimes in some 6, depending on what day of the week. They close the border at their country from 6 until 9 in the morning. I mean, wow. Go figure. How do you shut down your whole damn country?
How can you? Yeah.
I mean, we're just not used to those things, right? And those are things that you don't, if you aren't timing your ride to be somewhere at a certain time, you're going to run into those things, right? And we had a couple times where we got to the border before they were open, and we had to lay up. Now, some of the good ones, Panama, Costa Rica, they're 24 hours. So you don't have to worry about those. And Mexico is 24 hours. All the rest of them, Guatemala.
So even as you go deeper down into Mexico, mainland Mexico, gas stations are still available. There's 24-hour.
If you stay on the main roads, on the main highways, and the most we saw of any kind of business from Mexico all the way to Panama and back was gas stations. Every brand from Texaco, Shell, Mobil, their brands, and excuse me, they're the nicest, cleanest places in all of Central America. The gas station.
Okay, and
they're open.
They will pump your gas for you as well, correct?
They'll pump it. I don't like that too much, but they'll pump it. Everything's full stuff. The best thing about gas down there's no ethanol. Your gas mileage jumps like crazy. Gas price is about the same as here, but there's no ethanol in it. And I once had I have an aux tank, and I once went 538 miles between gas fill-ups down there.
That's good. That's good. I try to tell people in different areas, different regions, you're going to get better gas mileage because it's just better gas. It's just better gas. It's not.
It's surprisingly, but it's just pure gas. And in some places, they even have 95 octane down there, which is, you're never going to find up here. And but yeah, gas stations, they're everywhere. A lot of them are 24 hours, and I had researched all that already. And I had loaded them into base camp, and then I'd loaded all that into my GPSs. So when we knew we needed gas, I was just pull one up on the GPS. Oh, this is 24 hours. It's 25 miles down the road. We're good to go, right? And and I had done Google. Some of the countries allow Google to do the street drive thing in the camera.
Right.
So Nicaragua and others don't, but some do. And I was able to do street view of some of the gas stations, so you knew exactly what it looked like when we rode up on it and stuff, right? So that's how detailed I get before I do a ride. I dig all the way in and
yes, you do. Yeah,
plan it out. I don't want to say by the minute, but pretty darn close. So, and then it makes it much more successful for me and the type of riding I do. Right? It makes me then all I got to do is go ride the plan. right?
Okay. So basically you do all the front loading, all of the homework, all of the paperwork, the mapping, the navigation, the fuel mileage, maintenance, repair, logistics wise, comms. How was the comms down there? Were you able to use your mobile device? Same plan, just transfer it over across the border?
There's a few places there's no signal, like Nicaragua, in between the big cities, and maybe a couple spots in southern Mexico. But in general, they work it. They don't all have 5G. Though a lot of them have LTE. A few places were just 3G, but the phones, I never wasn't able to make a phone call, or when we wanted to upload a photo or something like that, or connect on Facebook. Mike Bobbitt is a social media. I don't know what the word is, but he's an expert at it, right? And he's posted all the time, and he does it all with Siri while he's riding down the road, right? Siri, take a photo. Siri, do this. Siri, do that. We're posting it up, right? That's a picture of Mexico border customs right there, getting passport stamped to check out of Mexico, or coming back north, checking into Mexico, right? So yeah, we had none, but like I say, it's not like here in the U.S. where you have really high speed and all that, but phone connectivity to make phone calls pretty much worked all the time, everywhere down there. Through there, I have Verizon. I think Mike and them had AT&T, and no issues at all with phone.
So no issues at all. That's good. That's good information.
Now, if you go to some of the more outback areas of those countries, that's a different thing. Our ride wasn't that, right? Our ride was down, a lot of the main roads. One of the roads I wanted to ride on was called the Pan American Highway, right? And it goes from Alaska all the way down to the end of South America. And so we probably rode a good 1,000 miles down and 1,000 miles back on that road. Pick it up in Nicaragua and a little bit in southern Mexico, and then we rode that all the way down into end of the road into Panama, there where the road ends at the Darien Gap. And one of my big things I always wanted to ride on.
That was one of my big questions. Darien Gaps. Please, and for people who don't know about it, give them some background, some history of that, because like I said, this is your second time running that pass.
Yeah. Well, the first time we didn't make it all the way to the Gap. The roads were too bad. We couldn't make it. But this time we did. We got almost there. We were probably 150 miles away. We were south of Panama City. The first real goal of that first ride was Panama Canal. Right. And we got that. And then we said, well, we're here this close. Let's see if we can make it down to the end of the road. But it was raining real hard and the road was real bad. And it just, we both knew it was going to take longer than we had time.
Was it washed out? Is it an issue?
It washed out, rain, broken,
mud slides, the whole 9 yards.
Potholes, giant speed bumps, what they call down there topes, but it's speed bumps. But
that would literally throw you in the air. That would literally throw you in the air if you hit it.
I'm going to tell you right now, I can't count how many times we got airborne. Because we're moving along at a nice little move as fast as we can for those roads. And these speed bumps sometimes come up out of nowhere because all the little towns have them. So you kind of get a feeling for them as you're coming into a town, in the middle of town, when you're leaving a town. But there's other places they just pop up to you, and they're in the shadows sometimes. And then when it's dark, because we rode through the night most of the way, sometimes you just don't see them, right? And we all have big giant lights, lots of light up front, but Clearwaters, Denali's, all the different lighting that you can have. But, so we got airborne a few times, and that was a good thing we had what we had, and then when we got down to the Darien Gap, that's like a 30 to 40 mile stretch of jungle. There's no road into South America. So
that's what I want to hear. That's what I want you to share with the people.
Yeah, it's no man's land. It's run by drug cartels. And it's all jungle. It's for real jungle. And there are people who pass through there all the time. Migrants coming from South America pay a big chunk of money, and they've got foot trails that they've got people to pass them through there. But when you get to the end of the road, there's a swinging walking bridge that crosses the river into the jungle. And so we got up on that bridge and did a couple little videos just so we could say we were on the bridge. We didn't have time to walk over in the jungle and didn't really have an interest, to be honest with you, right? But the road ends right there and doesn't go any far. So the people who want to ride South America have to ship their bike from Panama into South America, and either they fly it or put it by boat out of Panama. And but yeah, it's a pretty interesting place. When you get close down there, the Panama military have checkpoints. and they take your name and your picture and your phone numbers and all that stuff, and bike in case something happens to you and you don't make it back, right? And so they document that you're down there, and they ask you, can we take your picture and what's your phone number, those kind of things, right? So you'll pass through, when you get into Mexico all the way down, you're going to pass through 30, 40, 50 checkpoints on the way down and 30, 40, 50 checkpoints on the way back, right? And they're all nice people. Most of them wave us through. Some talk when I look at the bikes. Some actually look at your paperwork, but that was pretty rare. They all have big guns, though.
Okay.
Some of them have Humvees with M50 sitting on them, man, and you're looking like, and they're young kids, right, with these big guns, bigger than them, right? And
man,
it's pretty interesting.
Man, that's some scary stuff.
That's
right
picture
there.
Of the Darien Gap part right there, where people try to make it through there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's a true jungle, right? So there's been lots of talk for 50 years to build a road through there. It's 30 plus miles, right? But never happened. So I'm going to South America, so I got to ship my bike down to Colombia, and I'm just since I've already done all the way to the end of the road there in Panama, I'll ship it from Miami into Colombia from there, and then do the ride to the end of the road, ride the Pan American Highway to the end of the road down to Ushuaia down there.
Ushuaia. Okay, and is that a trip that you're planning for next year?
I wanted to try, but I got a lot going on, so probably not, because you can only do it from January to March. In the northern part, it's fine.
Let's talk about that window of opportunity for this ride, because I know their weather system is pretty much warm down there year round, but it's the storms that come through that makes it so dangerous.
You got to pick what they call the dry season. It isn't technically real dry, but it's the least rainy season, and that's from October till April. Early April is the dry season for Mexico and Central America, and if you go other times of the year, you chance hurricanes and flooding and washed out roads and real obstacles. And so the dry season is the best time to go. It's the best weather. It still was 105 in a few places, and in southern Mexico on the ride back, we rode in 102 plus for 5 to 6 hours, and so
humid, very humid down there.
Oh yeah, hot, humid.
How did your gear? Because I know you ride in full gear.
Yeah. I'm just used to it. I live in South Florida, so humidity is hot, and I just used to I just do it, right? I wear stitch gear. Mike was on climb, and Bill was in climb, and everybody had those a few little adjustments to try to get some airflow, but we all wore our gear all the time. Because you never know. We had no issues. One time, bike fell over, but that was sitting in a parking lot where somebody was sitting on the bike and fell asleep. It was 4:30 in the morning. We were taking a little break, and he fell asleep sitting in the saddle. Right? We were sitting in a parking lot of a gas station. So, but other than that, so we wore our gear and we just suffered. And in Honduras, when it was 105 and we stopped to eat, they had a beer cooler. So I took my jacket off and went inside that thing, man, and hung out for a while, and just to cool down, man, because it was hot. Believe me. But in the summer it could be hotter. We were in a time when it wasn't the hottest. It's always hot down there, but it just was the dry season, so that's the time you want to go.
Okay, and Chipper said, were the mosquitoes were they bad down there? Did y'all have any issues?
No,
because I know when you go to Alaska, the mosquitoes up there are probably like this big around, man. You can literally see them. They're like a little patchy attack helicopters flying.
Big enough to pick you up and carry you away up there, man.
Suck it dry.
Down, there's bugs down there, but we didn't have any real mosquito problems anywhere. Even when we stopped and slept on the side of the road, Bill had a mosquito hat, right? It's like a net hat that he's had, but Mike and I didn't, and none of us had any complaints that we got bit by any bug. But there are some big bugs down there. And one thing that there doesn't seem to be is large animals. We see lots of small animals, but we did see wild pig in southern Mexico, but we never saw a deer or any. Now there's cows in the road, and there's horses.
I was gonna ask you about that, because they have free range. Going on down there. And did y'all experience the cows? We experienced the cows when
many times.
Yeah.
And what they do is not only is it free range, so they're walking on the edge of the road or in the road or crossing the road. When they herd them from one field to the next, they herd them down the road. So they'll have a spotter guy in the back, looking for traffic coming, right? And he's flagging you, right? And we've got some video up online on the YouTube channel. I think Mike has some on his, where the cows are in the road and they're herding them there, right? And then they come around a corner one time and there was a dead one in the middle of the road. Somebody had hit it, right? And but there was no animals like deer or those kind of animals or raccoon. We didn't see any raccoons ever, possums, none of that stuff.
What about the popcorn?
Well, now that's another big story. On our way south,
we got to get it, man, because listen, your partner Bill.
This was Bill. It was a miracle. It was a miracle nobody got hurt and was on their ass, right? Bust their ass, right? We had arrived in David, Panama, which is a Hampton Inn, which was our planned stop on the ride south in the middle of the afternoon, around 12 o'clock. And so we were going to we had been riding for 30 plus hours, and the ride before, 2 days before that, we'd rode 41 hours straight. So we gave ourselves 12-hour layover. So we said, we'll meet out at midnight and we'll hit the road. So we all, went to our rooms, got some rest, and we, got ready to go. And we're headed south out of David, Panama, and we're on it's a nice 4-lane road. It's the Pan American Highway, pretty well upkept. There's some big potholes here and there, but in general, it's a pretty good condition road. And we came around a curve, and all of a sudden, and I'm not sure why we weren't, running 80 mile an hour. We were probably running 55, 60. It was dark. It was dry. So why we weren't going faster, I'm not 100% sure. I can't remember exactly why, but we came around a curve, and all of a sudden, Bill's kind of going sideways. And then he's going fishtailing, right? Back and forth and back and forth. And we're slowing down, right? And I'm not, like I say, I don't know why we weren't going faster. And then Mike and I, we weren't that far behind him. He was, look, we come up and we're looking, and then we look down, and there's yellow stuff all over the road. And at first we didn't know what it was, right? And there's these little yellow things all over the road, about 2 inches, 3 inches deep. And all of a sudden we start to, but we got ourselves to a stop, and we started dog paddling through the stuff and made it to the shoulder where there was the least amount of, turned out to be popcorn. There was a big truck hauling corn kernels, hard corn kernels like they'd make popcorn out of, had crashed and spewed the popcorn across all 4 lanes and deep. And they were out there shoveling it with shovels, man, at probably 2:30 in the morning, something like that, right? And how Bill didn't go down, I don't know. Part of it, he said he thinks the BMW ABS system, which is another reason I ride a BMW, because they, along with KTM and maybe one other, have a really top-notch ABS, traction control. We have traction control, all that stuff, right? Where it's it slows the rear wheel or whatever as it needs to try to keep you straight on the road, right? So, and Mike was yelling at Bill to our intercom. We all had cardio headsets, so we were able to communicate the whole time we were riding up and back. Don't hit the wall, because there was a median wall, right? Don't hit the wall. Don't. And Bill's like, how am I going to not hit the wall? I don't know what, like, I don't have any real control, really, right? Because you're like riding on marbles, right? A couple inch deep of marbles. That's exactly what it was like. But fortunately, he came to a stop, and then we all kind of made it over to the shoulder and started to dog paddle through. And it was a long, long stretch of this popcorn on the road. And we were just damn lucky there was nobody bawling behind us in a truck or car coming around, because they weren't going to be able to stop. They would have plowed right into the back of it. But it was about 2:30 in the morning, maybe 3 o'clock. And but it was crazy that popcorn strewed across the road like that. It was crazy. There's I just put a picture of it up on my ride webpage. So in the pictures for the 2025 ride, there's a picture of the you can see the popcorn and how deep it was on the road. So it's pretty crazy. I mean, who would think about that? And like I say, if we'd have been balling, we all three would have just went down right there, because there was places we were running, speeds other than. I got pulled over and doing 80. Now I don't know if it was 80 mile an hour, 80 kilometer an hour. The guy showed me a radar gun and said 80. But down in southern Panama, about 40 miles from the end of the road.
How are they? How was the policia down there with you guys? I mean, was it
when you're in Mexico?
Were they like money? No question.
No, never,
money,
once, not
money.
one time.
Because when we
When you're in Mexico,
when we had a little incident with the gas, they just asked, did we speak Spanish? And they just wanted money.
Yeah, we were on the main roads, so we didn't really.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yep. We were on the main roads, and we didn't really encounter anybody ask us for money or any. Well, we may have, but we didn't realize it until it was too late. And they gave up on us and we left, right? There was a couple times that as we thought back about it, they were trying to, get some money out of us, but we were dumb. We were naive in that aspect, even though we knew about it. I had talked to lots of people who've been down there had paid money all the time, to get out of little situations. But in Mexico, the speed signs don't mean anything. They're just for decoration. And when you get south of there, we pass police all the time, and sometimes they'd wave us by, but they'd pull off on the side a little bit and let us go by. I mean, we didn't go by them like doing a wheelie and all that, but we'd come up behind them and get respectful and just kind of sit, and watch and kind of gauge, what they were kind of doing, because there's all kind of police. There's national police, there's state police, there's real police, there's traffic police, there's National Guard, and they're all in these big vehicles.
Federales,
Yeah, but so we never had. But the one time this guy, and what's embarrassing is riding on my. He chased me down by foot, and he was a guy who eats real good, right? He was not a small dude, and he chased me down and had the radar gun and pointed in my face and it said 80, 80, 80, 80, and he's pointing at it. He said 60, 60 because I guess the speed limit was 60 there, right? And I knew I wasn't getting a ticket because one, he chased me down. He didn't have a ticket book with him, and it was a long ways back to where his ticket book was laying on the side of the road, right? So, but I just apologized a lot and stuff. But we never had anybody, police, at the checkpoints or any of those things, treat us other than nice, right? And or polite and or just professional in some cases, right? Where there wasn't a smile or whatever, but they were professional, right there. We never had, and we went through some checkpoints that weren't police and weren't military. So, there were other kinds, and no problems. Everybody was very nice and kind and polite to us, or professional, one or the other, right? So, yeah.
Okay. Good. That's good.
You got to do that right. Right in the U.S.
People hear horror stories about going down and experiencing, people coming up to you wanting money or kidnappings. And so people just say, you know what, I don't even want to take that chance. I would love to do the ride, but I just don't want to take the chance.
Well, that's why I chose a route around most of that, right? So that now once you get down into Guatemala, there's only a couple roads. And when you get to Nicaragua and Honduras, there's only a few roads really that you can pick to make the ride from one end of the country to the other and pass through the country, right? There's only a couple, but I was picking mainly big commercial roads with lots of commercial traffic that there's always people. There was people 24 hours a day on the roads everywhere, all the time. There was traffic everywhere all the time, 24 hours a day on the routes that I picked.
And what word would you tell anybody to do to start if they want to just say, I want to do this ride? I've heard Greg, I've seen him on the podcast, I think I can do it. What would the first thing you tell them that they need to sit down and start doing? Because I want people to do this ride.
Those are all things I
get encouraged to go out and try this ride, to set new limits, to set new goals. And the thing about it is, a lot of people may have never heard of this ride and will sit there and say, now I've heard of this ride and now I want to do it. That's why I'm trying to get as much.
The first thing I would tell you is go do it. Anybody can do it. They may not do it quite like pace I did it, but anybody can do the ride. But some of the first things I would tell you that you should be doing is stuff that I've been doing way back. So I'm just always ready. Myself in shape, and my motorcycle. Those are the main two things that when I leave home, unless something drastic happens, I know I'm going to make it and the bike's going to make it, right? Those are two things but I keep my stuff like that all the time, right? My bike's ready right now to go ride, to anywhere, right? I might need an oil change of tires, but in general, I keep my bike long distance endurance ready riding, right? So that, and then, you know, you really got to think about yourself, and you got to be a little self-sufficient, and you got to be able to take care of things, or not get too, you know, when something does happen and you're like stuck at a border and they say you can't go, or something like this, right? Or you got the wrong paperwork or what have you. You know, you got to be able to sit back, have some patience, and deal with those things in a calm manner. Because if you get excited, ain't nothing going to happen. They're going to shut down. And we found that out in this ride a little bit. There's something little happened that caused us some delays. So you got to just have the patience and deal with them. So you got to be able to, you know, be patient with yourself, and have yourself and your motorcycle ready to ride, and then know where you're going and be prepared for that, right? Because it isn't somewhere you want to go down and say, well, I think I'm going to go over that way. Or I'm going to, even though people I see all the time do it, right? But if you want to ride to the end of the road and back and be safe, you got to plan and prepare for it. Just don't take off tomorrow morning because you heard us talking tonight about it and say, man, I'm going to go do that, right? I mean, it's a chance you could. You know, there's a chance. There's a chance, right? I mean, you don't know until you know.
I do not advise it.
I don't advise it.
Yeah, I do not advise it, because
one of the things I like to do is,
it's one of those things where homework counts.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things I like to do is when I figure something out, I like to document it and put it out online. I have a big website, the ride to Panama, the Panama Express ride. I have a big web page. It's so big, it's crazy. There's probably 200 photos, 50 videos, and documentation for each country, each form you need, pictures of a lot of the documents and stuff you need, videos that show you what the borders look like, what the roads look like, what to expect. So gives people, a lot of people have already used that to do it. And even my South America ride, I hadn't even done. I've got a web page for that. You know, the girl Cynthia, she used that when she went to Ushuaia. You know,
yes, snacks.
Yeah, when she went down there on her Pan American, she used my ride, both my Mexico, Central America, and my South America ride plans to do that. She reached out to me and let me know that she was using those to, you know, plan her ride, right?
I think I mentioned two names to her when she was planning that ride. I think I mentioned your name and another Greg that rode down. He has a late model. I think it's a BMW as well, but it's a late model BMW, and he used to make that trip once a year, but he had a bad accident and broke a couple bones, and now he's up in Maine. Greg, I hope you're doing all right there. He's recovering from Lyme disease. He said you're not from Maine until you get Lyme disease. So he's recovering from Lyme disease.
All right. Wow. Yeah.
Oh goodness.
So you want to be prepared, right? Don't just, you know, you want to be successful. You want to go, you make it to where your goal is and make it back, right? Because you don't want to just get there. You still got to get back, right? Because it's just as hard as ride coming back as it is to get down there, right? It's a little easier because you've seen the roads, you saw the road conditions, the current road conditions, but it's a hard ride. Even if you take 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to do it, it's still a very hard ride to do.
It is.
But a lot of fun, man. I'm going to tell you, it's nothing. Riding down there's nothing like riding in the U.S. And I'm already I got to make sure my wife isn't listening. I already got a ride plan going down into Mexico for October, and end up in Mexico City and spend a night, and then do a Mexico City to Texas City SS1000 2-country on the way back.
Okay. Are you gonna open that up, or is this
yeah. After I'm moving into my house in a couple weeks, and so once I get, you know, organized and sure everything's done with that, the plan is to open it up. And I took a group of 6 down there last September. And we just went into Mexico, did SS1000, and came back out of Mexico, right? And but we rode 1,000 miles all in Mexico. We organized it with Marco, and he had people at our gas stops, what he called checkpoints, and they were there and they signed our documents, photos. We had a really nice ride, except for the last part with some rain, but still had a good ride. And so yeah, that's similar, but it's going to be a little longer, multi-day ride down to Mexico.
Okay. I might be in touch with you. You said it's going to be in October?
Yeah, October when the dry season starts.
Okay.
Because when we went back in September, we did it September 1st, man. We had some good rain, especially on the way. On the way down, we had some in the mountains because there's a big part of it is in the mountains. When you ride down through central Mexico, the highway down the middle of the road, it's in some places 9,000 feet. So even in April or May, it still could be in the 20s at night. You got to bring a heated jacket with you, because we'll be riding in the high elevation mountain range. And Mexico City itself is 7,500 feet.
Right.
And we're going to stay right downtown. I did it back in 2018. There's a nice Marriott hotel that has underground parking, real safe to keep the bikes.
Nice.
And it's right there where that statue you see, that big tall statue you see when the people show Mexico City. It's 2 blocks from there. So you walk around and you'll be able to see all that. And so it'll be a real nice ride. And then we'll hook up with Marco while we're there and probably have a dinner with him or something like that.
Good deal, man. That sounds like it's going to be a good one. For you that don't know, Marco is the president of the Iron Butter Association Mexico. And they always put on great rides down there. I've enjoyed it. We down there. Yeah, they are, man. Yeah, they are. But they always put on a great show down there. I've enjoyed it. And I definitely would make it in anybody to say, hey, look, man, I want to try to get down there and maybe do a ride, maybe go out, and because they put it on. When they put it on, they put it on real nice. They lay everything down for you. They don't chance you. They don't have you out there in the middle of nowhere. Just riding. They lay everything on. Coordinations are there. He does an outstanding job. Yes.
Go all out. Yes. And when I took the 6, we called it the Magnificent 7. He made T-shirts for us, decals. I mean, all kinds of crazy stuff. And you pay for your certificates in the U.S., right? $40, $50, whatever it is here in the U.S. It was $60 for all of that kind of stuff with them, right? Shirts. We each got 2 shirts, 5 or 6 decals. All other kinds of stuff, man. Stickers. It's just they go all out. So we're going to organize it with him and make it a nice event. And you'll get to ride get a certificate from IBA Mexico. They put dragons and all kinds of stuff on their certificates down there, right? So they got some really cool looking certificates.
They do, man.
They have they're a fun group, and they're well organized, and they have people all over Mexico. One thing, if you ever go down there, you want to reach out to him, let him know you're IBA guy, and he'll give you his number. And if anything happens to you, he's always told me, if you end up in any situation where it looks a little shaky, is to make a phone call, put him on the phone, and then hand the phone to whomever, and he'll handle it.
Exactly. That's exactly what we did. That's exactly what we did, man. It was like, just give the phone to Marco, and Marco will do everything and talk, and he will break it down to you, man. He'll get you out of some jam.
This video you're playing is one that he made for us for our ride for the Magnificent 7, man. He went all out, man. It was just crazy what he did for us. So we're gonna do a similar thing.
Yeah, we did. Okay, and we did the Cactus 5 when we did down there. When I was with Sharif, Bill McGowan, Todd Moreland, who else was with us? Oh, David Asenada, Espinosa was with us, and Wendy was already down there. And so, man, we had a great time. We had a great time. So when you go down there, folks, they're going to take really good care of you. Look into doing IBA rides down in Mexico with the Iron Butter Association Mexico with Marco. You won't be disappointed at all.
Yeah, they have. You can search them on Google. They got a website, and you can find out. They do a lot of organized rides and rallies throughout the year that you can go and join one of those. They do 5 or 6 a year, SS1000s, BBGs, and other kind of things. Or like I've done in the 2 times I did organized rides down there, I just planned out our own, but just coordinated with Marco, right? And because you want him involved if you're riding that, doing IBA stuff down in Mexico, right? So
now, Greg, I'm gonna have to shift gears. I'm gonna change gears because we've accomplished Mexico. We're out of there. We're back home. We're safe. You've been riding long distance riding for some time now. You've seen changes. What changes have you seen in the long distance riding community?
Um, to be honest with you, it's gotten easier. I started riding back with carbureted bikes, tube tires, limited suspension, limited wind weather protection, no custom seats, um, and no GPSs, right? So just
And no
paper map. I
GPS.
had a tank bag and I had a
Tank
paper map
bag.
in my tank bag. And you had a map cover, right? We had the clear cover plastic. You could stick your
Yep.
map in there, right? And
Yep.
so now we have all those things: GPSs, communication. I mean, some of the stuff people do, like Mike Bobbitt on his bike with Siri, and he's got a
Uh-huh.
tablet, and he's
Yeah,
running
people
big
have,
screen
yeah,
tablets,
yeah.
and this and that, and he's a Siri master, right? So he doesn't have to take his hands off the bar, and he'll post it on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, and upload the photos, and I'm like, dude, how'd you do that? And
Yeah. Yeah. Ben Hurst,
but
man. Ben Hurst move on the fly. That guy will literally get his instructions right there and take off while everybody else sitting down plotting. He's already 200 miles away from the
and then
start point.
the other thing is the gear we wear. When I started doing real long distance, there wasn't real most. I wore ski suits
Okay.
because I used to leave Chicago to go to Bike Week, right, in early March, and I had a KZ650 at the time. I had to put sterno under the oil pan to loosen up the oil so I could start the bike, and it had electric start, but it wouldn't electric start because the battery would kind of. So you had to kickstart it. So you had to warm up the oil before you could kickstart it. And I wore snowmobile suits or ski suits because it was 30s or 20s when I left out of North Chicago, Great Lakes Naval Base, to ride down to Daytona, right? And so now I have all Aerostitch, Gore-Tex, and when I started doing IBA rides, I had Joe Rocket gear and other kinds of gear, and I was always changing my gear. I had rain gear to put on. I had this. Now I just have one thing, and I don't have to change when the weather changes. It's expensive, but
Yeah.
what
I know a lot of people
when
are going
I'm
to
about 880,000 miles now, so you're kind of looking for the best comfort. So that's what's really changed is all the gear, and the motorcycles are 10 times more reliable.
Right.
And then I think we as people and as riders are healthier.
Okay.
Right.
That's
I
good to
really do
hear.
think
That's good to hear.
we are most of the people I see out there, yeah, they got a couple pounds here or there, but they're still, have endurance about them. If you can go ride a motorcycle 1,000 miles in less than 24 hours, you've got some endurance
You have some endurance. Yes. Yes.
right? I mean, maybe you're riding a big couch, Gold Wing, but still, you're stopping and starting for gas, and the weather's changing all the time. When you ride across country, you're going to have all kinds of weather in just a 2-day period, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think we're healthier, and the gear and the bikes are a lot better.
Okay.
So,
I got a question for you right quick.
Okay.
Out of all the rides you've done, which one has been the most challenging? Thank you, Breezy.
When I did 4 BBGs back to back to back to back.
Thus explain a BBG so that people can
that's
understand.
1,500 miles in less than 24 hours, and I did 4 of them in a row. And I got a couple hours sleep in between each one.
Now, you also have the ultimate coast to coast. That's going all the way up from Key West, Florida, all the way up to Prudhoe Bay, Alaska, turning around and coming back
I was actually the witness. I don't know if you guys ever heard of there's an organization out there called the Motorcycle Tourist Forum, MTF. And I used to be the head of the long distance riding group. And we organized it that year, and we had 24 riders. So I lived in South Florida, so I went down, and the riders can kind of come and go, over a 3-day window. You can start and stuff like that, right? But we all met up in Fairbanks. Actually, we all met up in Dawson Creek in Canada, and then again at Fairbanks at our host hotel that we stayed at to ride up to the top. So I was the witness down there, and I'd go down every couple of days and witness people in and out. And then once I got up there, I was the witness up there for that. Yeah. So that's a hard ride, but we took more time, right? To me, it wasn't a lot of endurance, except for getting up to Canada and coming back from Canada. When I came back from Alaska, my wife said, "You better get your ass home, boy." So I almost beat John Ryan's record leaving out of Fairbanks coming home on a gold wing.
Oh
So,
man! So you took a gold wing up?
Yeah, and out of the 24
Took a
people,
gold wing up the Dalton Highway.
out of 24 people, I'm the only guy that didn't fall over. Now,
Hey,
I will tell you the truth. There was some places I was dog paddling that bad boy, right? Because you know, and I was running a car tire on the back.
yeah,
One flat Kumo car tire on the back, right? And but yeah, I was the only guy that didn't fall over out of everybody. I mean, some of them were just stupid little slips, right? You
right,
know,
right.
all over
Yeah,
the parking lot, even maybe. But or you know,
man.
there was a lot of dirt and road construction on the Alaskan Highway that year, north of Dawson Creek. So there was and there were burns where they were grading, and they would let the burn. You had to get across the burn to the other side. My
Right,
goal would bottom out on that thing, right? So,
right.
but little things like that, and you know, you could slip and fall. You know, it's a motorcycle's two wheels. Eventually, something's going to fall over, right? So,
Right. Piper hit a question for you.
the other, let me add one other hard ride that I did was for a couple years, up until a year and a half. So I had the motorcycle coast to coast record. San
Yes.
Diego Beach to Jacksonville Beach, 29 hours, 23 minutes. I did that on a Honda Goldwing. So that was a really hard ride. You know, I rode 29 and a half hours and then I had to ride 350 miles home after that.
So that was leaving Jacksonville.
Now I was leaving San Diego. I did the ride on the way out. I had to work in San Diego that week.
Okay.
So I went out the weekend before, and I kind of did a test ride out, and I did 32 hours. And I had a friend with me, and then he turned around and went home. And then I worked all week, and then I got up on the Saturday morning, and I had it all planned, you know, my stops and the timings where I needed to hit state borders at times and stuff like that. And I left San Diego, the Shell gas station right there on Voltaire Street, right by the beach that everybody uses for the 50cc. Or the 100cc, the turnaround where they get the receipt. And 29 hours and 23 minutes later, I was at the gas station on the other side of Jacksonville Beach.
Wow. Greg, what's your inspiration? What inspires you to get out and continue to long distance riding at your age now?
I just like to ride. I like I say, the destination isn't for me. I mean, sometimes the destination is like making the end of the road in Darien Gap. That was my destination. But we stayed there an hour, had lunch, turned around, and we started coming back, right? And riding just as hard as on the way down. And we took 100 hours to get down there from Laredo. And we took 112 hours to get back, I think. So we rode basically just as hard. We had that hang up at the Nicaragua border on the way back where they wouldn't let Mike Boglet leave until the next day till he got his paperwork fixed. So, but it's just a riding. And you know, endurance riding is what it is. Like I like to push the limits. And,
okay. But you know your limits though. You
you learn them.
You learn your limits. We know when to shut it down.
Yeah, I've learned. Like I say, I started riding in 1974, so we're 50 years now of motorcycle riding. So I've got some experience. I had a gap of about 10 years. I didn't ride because my sons were young, and my wife told me I had to stay my butt home. So we all couldn't fit on the bike, right? So she wasn't gonna stay home and watch the kids alone, right? So but it's the endurance riding to me. I to be honest, I don't have a lot of interest to hop on the bike and ride up to the burger shack and have a burger and come back home, right? If I leave home, I'm usually riding 1,000 miles. Like I just went the other day to meet a guy that's going to be in the Ironbutt Rally, Nate Stuber, up in South Georgia. Had barbecue lunch. He came from Louisiana. I went there, and you know, I rode a little over 1,000 miles just to you know, that's just who I am, right? I don't ride around town anymore; it's too dangerous.
Okay, because most people have an accident 10 to 15 miles away from their home.
I had one. I had one in my 50 years. I had a bad one. I had a bad one, and if there wasn't a helicopter, I probably wouldn't be talking with you right now. So.
Wow, medevaced out.
Yeah.
Did you when you took that trip down to Panama? Did you have what is
MedJet?
MedJet. Did you have MedJet?
Yep. When my first Ironbutt Rally was 2009.
That's
and
when
MedJet was the only option back then, so you had to have it in Ironbutt Rally.
Yep.
So I got it in early 2009, and I've had it ever since then. Because I was in the 2011, but had to drop out because of work, and then I rode in 13 and 15 and 17 and 19 and 21, and so it's just, you know, it's just hard to stop. And then I do a lot of these things, go places that You just want to have it, and it's cheaper if you do those kind of rides. It's cheaper just to have it for a year because either the IBA or BMW or others get discounts, and it's like an insurance policy. It's I think this year it was $250 for the year, and I've never thankfully had to have any use of it.
Go up,
but I know some people that have and that it worked. Right, did the job. Now there's some other competitors out there. There's one called Sky something now out there, but when I first started on Embark ride, MedJet was it, right?
Yeah, it is the premier one.
So I have the MedJet, and there's something on my website about it. Defiling my ride plan with the State Department. It's called the STEP program, and you go on. They have a website. You go in and you put what countries you're going to be, what dates you're going to be, and when you're leaving, when you're coming back, and all that stuff, so that if somebody, they know that you're in those countries, right? And so it's on their website how to fill that out, and it's another thing I do when I leave the country and go on rides outside of the country. I fill that out so that if something does happen and I need to be found, at least they know where I'm probably at that.
And you have a spot tracker that you run that you keep on you?
I do. I run Spot, and I've had Spot since day one. 2008 was the first one, and we did the border to border from Nuevo Laredo, Mexico to Emerson, Canada in 2008 with the MTF, about 15 of us.
Okay.
And that's when Jason first developed Spot Wallet, and that's when Spot 1 first came out.
Right.
And and I've been running that, and I also run the SW Tracker app also as a backup, right?
Yeah.
And,
SW Tracker, Man,
and,
this is
SW Tracker, you were just showing a map a while ago. It had all those little images of our ride down there. That was my problem. Those are images that we posted up with SW Tracker, and it worked every time. So the connectivity that we had down there to Mexico and sent that map right there.
Right.
Those are all pictures that he posted while we were doing the ride of whatever we were doing at the gas stop, eating, riding down, whatever.
I don't know, man. Jason, I don't know what program Jason used, but when he developed that right there, man, that thing was God sent right there. That thing was on the money.
I was a beta tester for that. So, So back in 2008, and our first real group ride was the MTF border to border back then, and it was pretty cool. I don't want to brag or anything, but I am number one track person on Spot Wallet in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's good. I told you, man. When I said you are an IBA legend, man,
I don't know about all that.
Yes, you are. Don't even try. Hey, we got two more questions. I got to sneak in quick. First question was Piper. Did you try any other gear besides AirTech?
Yeah, I wore a lot of Joe Rocket and gear like that, but at the time, Climb wasn't big, and Aerostitch was big. If you showed up at an Ironbutt rally or you showed up in Jacksonville, half the people were wearing Aerostitch, right? So when I started wearing it, Climb wasn't really marketing to the motorcycle group as much. They were snowmobilers and that kind of stuff, winter gear, and it's worked for me well. It keeps me dry for real. I wear their 81 pants and the Darien jacket. And even on this ride back from Mexico, Mike and I rode for 2.5, 3 hours in rain. We had high water up to foot pegs, road crossing, right? We had 20 water crossings up to foot peg height on GSAs, which are really high up off the ground.
Yeah,
I was dry the whole time, right? Other than that, I used to wear Joe Rocket gear before that, and I tried, mesh and all those other things, but when you get involved in Ironbutt rally, they kind of, lean on you to wear like real good gear, right? And there are other good brands besides Aerostitch and Climb out there, right? And if you go to Jacksonville, you go to Ironbutt rally and walk around, or you're in the rally, you'll see, right? But if you walk around in like
I got that funny look, like what he's doing with jeans on. And,
I
had the jacket on.
They're not going to tell you no.
But I mean, the thing was, it's just what I feel comfortable riding in. You know what I'm saying?
And what they're going to do is something happen. Then they're going to say, see, right?
But
they'll do that. They'll be your best friend.
Yeah.
They'll be your best friend, and they'll show up and do whatever, right? But that doesn't mean they ain't gonna throw a dig or two at you and say,
Oh yeah, man, you get that look. And I got that look, but I just sat back and said, whatever, man. Let me just
but you
make
gotta
sure I'm
do what
plotting this right.
makes you feel right
I
too, right?
finished gold. I'm happy. I got my 3 digits, man, and I think that that just made me feel very confident. And you should feel very confident and accomplishing all that you've done as well. Moose had a question about how do
Sure.
you fight being sleepy?
Well, I have well, what I do is I listen to music when I'm really tired, and I've had XM radio. Goldwings came out with it many years on their bikes, right? And now it's an app on your phone if you have XM, if you have the service. I have it in my car, right? So at 3 o'clock in the morning, man, I'll put on comedy channels on XM
Mm-hmm.
and just trying to listen to that the comedian and the jokes they're making and stuff like that. You'd be surprised. And then the other real kind of trick is, and I use sweet tarts, but it's to start chewing something, beef jerky or whatever. You start chewing on something while that surprisingly wakes you up like you'd be. And then when you know you've reached that wall and everybody is different, you just stop, right? And sometimes just stop and close your eyes, and you don't even have to sleep for 15 minutes, and just have your mind stop processing information, right? And go. But I've had an ability since I can remember to go 40 plus hours without sleep.
Wow. Man, now that's 40 plus hours, and people don't understand. Like, we kick off the Hoka and people say, man, how many, I said for the first, 2 days, I think I was running nonstop, maybe 2 hours sleep at night, just enough to just give my eyes time to rest. That's
Yep.
all I really needed. And people couldn't understand. It's like, wow. I said, yeah, but I'm, that's what I'm good at.
And
That's
that's
how
the
I
big
operate and I can function with that.
that's the big hurdle that a lot of people I talk to about is that they don't know, right? You don't know till you know. And
Right,
being able to how far can you go and be safe, right?
right.
I'm going to tell you, the body is an amazing thing. It can do a lot of things. It can heal you from lots of things. And the endurance capability the body has is really surprising when you want to. And another benefit I have about it is I
Mhm.
really love riding. So I can't sleep at night even now. I've been doing 50 years. I can't sleep at night now when I'm planning to ride the night before. And so I want to go out there and ride, and I'm involved. I don't
Mhm.
sit back and just lay back in the traffic, right? And I'm riding and always trying to be. I don't want to be the aggressor on the road, but I want to be the person making most of the decisions. So if a bad decision is made, I'm going to yell at myself.
Defensive. I say defensive. Yep, I say I'm very defensive. You don't dictate my ride.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah. But
yep. I
I
say, look,
really
you're not
love
gonna
to
dictate
ride,
my ride.
and
I'm doing my
I'm paying
lane
attention
changes.
all
I'm
the time,
watching
and that
how I
also helps
move,
keep you awake and
and
alert. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, it's something that I'm just fortunate to have the ability to ride without having to do too many breaks.
okay,
Did we hang? There we go.
okay. Well, look, no. It's just the bandwidth, man. It's just the bandwidth. We've been on about an hour and a
Plain
half
water.
now. I try to keep it,
Breezy.
about an hour, 15, 30.
Breezy's
Yeah.
asking a question, and it's plain water. I don't drink
What
electrolytes. Now, when
hydration
I
are you
stop,
drinking?
in my jug I have on the bike, if you look at pictures of my bike, you'll see that blue jug. It's an Igloo $12 jug off Amazon. I have just plain water in there. Now, when I stop, I might drink some kind of a Gatorade drink or something that has electrolytes in it, when I stop to eat or something like that. But to be honest, normally I just have tea.
Right.
I just usually drink tea, but on
Okay.
the bike, I only drink plain water.
Wow. And that's your go-to. You're good with that.
Yep. That's the go-to.
Okay. Okay. Man, this has
And I
been
don't,
very
I don't
informative.
drink and
I
ride,
knew it
right?
would be informative.
Yeah, I don't drink and ride. So
No energy drinks or anything like that. You just straight tea,
you
and
know,
electrolytes
I
and the
don't
clan
know if
shoe.
I don't know if the childhood I had, which would be another whole story. I went to 24 schools before I got out of high school because my parents were married many times each and got moved around. So 24, and I graduated at 17. right? So and then joined the Navy. So I don't know that part, or I was in the military and had some jobs, and then I was in law enforcement, and I just
Yeah,
throw it
because
out
you
there.
were you were you're a deputy sheriff.
I was undercover cop for a long time,
Yeah.
long hair and a beard, and I was buying drugs and selling drugs down in Duval Street in Key West for a long time, working with DEA and FBI, and I was a deputy sheriff at the time, right? I was
Okay.
an undercover police officer, yeah. When it was all said and done, we had a big roundup. We arrested like 40 people and all that. I went on road patrol, and then when they started trials, they shipped me to Japan, and that's why I lived in Japan for 5 years. And then they would fly me because there were some guys said I wasn't going to make it to the trial.
Hey man, we don't need no cartel stories. We don't need no cartel stories. Oh my goodness. Oh man,
anyway,
I loved it.
That's another story for another day.
I know we had to do another episode, man. Oh my goodness, Greg, I thank you for coming on tonight. Man, it's been wonderful hearing your tales, your expertise. You're a subject matter expert. You have a plethora of knowledge that I want people to understand that they can reach out to you. You will be more than willing to help them. The only thing that we ask folks is be serious when you reach out, because Greg is serious. He takes his riding, his planning, his trip planning. He take it all serious.
I'm serious about it, but I love to help people.
Right.
And to be honest with you, I have a belief that we all can do it if we really want to, right? If we want to put the effort behind it. And I put a lot of effort to riding long distance endurance riding, right? I put a lot of effort into it.
Yes. How much longer do you see yourself riding?
10 more years.
10 more years?
Yeah.
Into your 70s?
I'm 68, so 78.
78 into your
I know I don't know if you know Bob Torter, right? He's 80. I think he's still right. He's got a V-Rod. I think he still rides that once in a while. He just turned 80 today, or 81. His birthday was today. There's a few people out there.
Andy Anderson is out there riding right now.
So
a lot of people.
I'm fortunate. I take no medication. I have nothing going down at the moment. So I had something. I had a big tumor, diagnosed with lymphoma. I got a 16-inch incision where they cut me open 25 years ago and took half of my stuff out, right? But they left a good shit, so I was all right. So
good.
But I don't plan on stopping, to be honest. I'm already planning on my next motorcycle, right? So,
okay.
Don't tell the wife, though. Hopefully she ain't listening.
I hope she's not listening. Hey, man.
I got banned. I'll tell you, I know you got to. I got banned. I bought 3 gold wings in 1 year because they come. And so I had to sign a contract with my wife. I wouldn't go in a dealer for 2 years.
Oh my goodness, man! Y'all heard it, folks. Don't make the wife pull out the contract, man. Gonna shut the studio down. You said no more.
Crazy.
No more.
Yeah, it was pretty. It wasn't good.
Okay, man. I've enjoyed this show tonight. It's been a lot. And I knew it would be a lot. And I greatly appreciate you coming on, Greg. Your IBA number is 382.
Yep.
Which that's relatively a low number. And you're still riding, you're still getting it in. And
if I wasn't building a house, I'd be in this Ironbark rally. I plan on being in the next one in 27. So
okay.
And competing, not just showing up. I'm coming. I don't think I can win. I never really thought about, but I have the ability to be top 10, right? And I won a lot of smaller kind of rallies and stuff like that. And but
was it the challenge? Was it the challenge for you for rallies?
Being able to, and it's not just the challenge of doing the rally. It's the whole part. I love the whole part getting up to the rally. 2 months before the rally, I got my dining room table loaded with stuff that I may want to have or may not want to have. Right? I load it all up there, and then every once in a while I'll go by. Oh, I don't want this. I'll throw that over in another box. Or I'm going to keep this, and I kind of keep filtering it down till the time to leave home. Right. And I'm planning, and I've already, by right now, where the start, finish checkpoints are. This one happens to all be the same place, but normally the start and the finish could be different or the same, but the checkpoints are different, maybe on the other side of the country. So I've already planned how I'm going to get around all those. I've looked at the weather. I have a really big IBR weather webpage that I do for each Ironbark I've been doing since 2007. Over 500,000 views on that. and I've made one for 2025 IBR also. And so I'm looking at the weather conditions, the normal patterns for that time of year in different parts of the country, in Canada and Alaska. And I'm just kind of, all the way up. So for about 6 months, my wife says, it's like I'm not here, right? And then so I take it very seriously, and I want to compete seriously, and I want to do well, right? You never know.
Okay.
My first one, I was 34th, right, in 2009, and made some mistakes where I just went too far too long, and then I got in a hotel outside in Beaumont, Texas, and then I didn't know it. I passed out, and they come pounding on the door, said, "You've been here too long. You got to leave."
Oh man,
I passed
no,
out, baby.
no, no. Yeah, man.
I overdid it leg one and was halfway through leg two. Man, I was gone. And I didn't know what. When they woke me up, I didn't know where I was. I was so out of it. It took an hour to get my act together and get back on the road.
Right. I'm glad you're
and that's how you learn your limits, though, right?
That's right. That's why you learn your limits. That's where you learn your limits.
If you don't push over your edge, if you don't push, you'll never know what your limits are. And I'm not telling people to go do dangerous things or anything like that, but you'd be surprised what your body's really capable of if you want it to. Right? You got to want it to. You don't do it just because your buddy wants to go do it and says, you got to be the one that wants to do it, right? And I've always found that the case. If you really want to do it, your body is more capable than you are. Just like every motorcycle I ride, it's more capable than I'll ever be able to ride. Today, they're just, they're the tires, the tire compounds, all that stuff. I could never outride all that stuff, right? So that's Dawson Creek, mile zero on Alaskan Highway, right there. Yeah.
Yep. You are the man.
That was another brand of jacket I wore for a while, Olympia. And that was called the AST jacket. And I wore the Olympia for a while between Joe Rocket and Aerostitch.
Okay.
It was Olympia. Okay. And they're still around, but they don't make those jackets anymore.
I was about to say, were you a test rider for that brand? Now, have you been endorsed? Have you been sponsored? Have you been sponsored? Or organization have come up and said, "Hey, Greg, we want you to test this product"?
I've been offered products like that, but I haven't taken them. But I've taken discounts, and straight up at Clearwater, I get a 50% discount on Clearwater lights.
Okay.
Aerostitch, I get 28% discount. But I've had people offer me stuff, but it wasn't stuff I wanted to use, I try new stuff all the time, but just like when I was in Ironbutt rallies, people offered me money to help cover my costs, but then I felt like I was going to be obligated to do something and do well, and if something happened, I didn't finish, then what, right? And I don't got money. I'm a real working guy. I work all the time. My wife will tell you, because
how much do you think it costs you to make that trip down there and back?
That was one of the
we could keep talking.
Yeah, that ride I spent $1,500. That's it.
What?
Both times, $1,500.
$1,500.
Yeah, that's gas, hotels, and border crossings, and food. Yeah. $1,500. I don't say it's nothing, but it's not expensive, right? Because once you cross the border,
you'll spend $5,000 doing the Four Corners or more. Doing the Four Corners.
Go ride the Ironbutt rally, baby. 5 times.
Oh my goodness!
And wait. Ride.
We're not even talking about that. I know this is an expensive thing, man.
Ride the Ironbutt rally 5 times and pay for 7.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And pay for 7.
Yeah.
Man.
Do that.
Ugh. That's crunchy. That's a hard one to chew right there, my friend.
That's
a hard one to chew.
It's something you don't want to even talk about.
Yeah,
But once you cross the border into Mexico, gas is the same as in the U.S. price. Everything else is 10 times cheaper. You get nice hotels. The Hampton Inn down in David, Panama was $40 a night. The hotel we stayed in, San Pedro Sula, right downtown, a really nice hotel. Well, again, was $45 a night. in cheaper hotels that we stayed at in Guatemala, $35 a night, $25 a night. We stayed at a place $25 a night, right? So, and then food is dirt cheap.
Right.
That's
you know
my
your
wife.
wife looking. You know your wife looking, right? So you might as well go ahead and get ready to go get this one, Greg.
She's probably standing outside the door right now.
I know. I had to do it to you. Oh man, Greg, I got to get off this line tonight, man. I have thoroughly enjoyed. Like I say, we could have turned this into like a 3-part series, just breaking it all down and just covering it all. But I thank you for coming on the podcast show tonight. It's been an honor to have you on. It's been very informative. I see the comments both on YouTube and Facebook and other StreamYards that people just saying, "Hey man, it's just been great information tonight," and that's exactly what I wanted it to be. To share your experience and knowledge with everybody else that's out there in the long distance motorcycle community that's looking to get out and start doing some true long distance riding. Yeah. I'm talking.
I really appreciate you having me on, and I hopefully provided some good information to people. And just so you know, there's many ways to reach out to me, and feel free. I get people all the time. I'm helping 20-something people in this Iron Butt rally right now, right? So
wow.
So I just tell them they better win. That's it. That's my only ask.
Yeah.
Go win.
No pressure. No pressure.
If I'm giving you all the tools to win, you got to go do it.
That's right. That's right. Man. Well, Greg, I will definitely be in touch with you, sir. You have a good evening and stay safe out there.
Yep. You too. Thanks a lot. I appreciate you having me.
Take care.
Bye.
Folks, I tell you, hearing his adventures, hearing his travels, the rides that he's done. I was looking at his bio, on the Iron Butt Association page, and he's almost at 1 million miles over each, and he probably had four to be certified, but with over 228,000 certified miles of riding, that's incredible. But look, folks, before I get off here tonight, I just want to send a shout out to Shakila Boosie. I hope I'm saying that right, because she'll probably comment when she sees it and say, "Solo, you're killing my name." She's out doing an incredible ride for a good cause, a charity ride. Make sure you go to her page and check it out. I will be highlighting her ride coming up in a up and coming episode. There's a lot of people just getting back. I'll be having some people on the show coming up soon on Trip Talk. So make sure you tune in right here with Riding with K-Solo, the podcast. So where we're going to be highlighting trips, where we're going to be highlighting historic rides. We got some stuff coming up. Shout out to Mr. Dennis Joyner and everybody. Tone is out there getting it in. Shout out to Chris Hopper. Chris Hopper getting ready to go out and do another 100K banger. There's actually 3 gentlemen that's out there right now launching out for charity rides. It's getting ready to do in excess of 100K banger in 100 days, 123 days. Old man, Pat Cornell is getting ready to get out and do his 100 banger. Hopefully the Iceman is healing up, and once he get healed up, he'll still have the rest of the year to kind of knock out his back-to-back 100K banger. And everybody else is riding, and it doesn't have to be super long distance. You just out there riding for you. You've been inspiring to others, and we just want to say continue to just share your journey, share your adventures, and inspire other people to want to get out and hit these back roads, hit these interstates, get out and, as Reef would say, get out and explore. Shout out to Lost Gypsy Nation up there in Toronto. My brother Rob Williams, he's out there riding. John Meadows out there riding. Shout out to all of those guys, man. I'm looking at who else is out there riding? OB Jammers out there. Staff. Brinson is out there riding. Buster, Buster's been getting it in. Kerry's getting it in. Shout out to those guys. Shout out to my hard chapter, man. Great class. Mike Tucker, that was a great class. that you put on for us. I know Zulu is getting ready to get out. Who else is out there? But listen, folks, this is what it's all about. Each one teach one. My passion for long distance riding is still there. I will be launching out here pretty soon. For my last, not my last legend rider, but it's going to be my last legend ride that I'm going to take Big Blue out on. And yeah, we getting there ready. So folks, make sure you tune in right here, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Riding with K Solo, the podcast. All right, folks, y'all have a good night.